Lecture on learning, memory and conditioned reflexes. The three terminology, memory, learning and conditioned reflexes, all are integrated and they are closely related. The memory, learning and conditioned reflexes all are closely related and integrated. Without learning, memory cannot be retained, and memory and learning cannot be processed without conditioned reflexes. So all are closely related. Secondly, the conditioned reflexes is the basic process of learning and memory. But we will take conditioned reflexes in the next lecture. So you may subscribe my YouTube channel. Definition or the memory. What is the main definition of memory? It has two parts. Memory is an ability to store learned or acquired informations. Secondly, it recollects the same when it is needed. So the definition, by definition, two parts are important. Memory is an ability to store what it can be stored, learned or acquired information. So the acquired information or learned informations has to be stored and must recollect the same when the person required or needed. Classification of the memory. Memory can be classified based on the information it stores. It is divided into two: declarative memory or explicit memory. Another name is recognition memory or associative memory. Second group include skill memory or implicit memory. Another name is non-declarative memory or reflexive memory or non-associative memory. So name indicates main criteria for the classification. Associative memory means it is associated with the two or more stimuli. Recognition memory means it requires events. Declarative memory, it requires the declaration or specific events. Skill memory required skills or experiences. Reflexive memory or non-declarative memory do not require conscious level. Non-associative memory, it requires only one stimulus. In this slide, long-term memory is of two types, that is explicit memory or declarative memory. Second is implicit memory or non-declarative memory or non-associative learning. So what are the two groups and what are the differences between these two? So first difference is that a memory of this type means declarative or associative memory, they require important events, while implicit memory does not require events, but they require experiences, they require knowledge, and they do not occur at conscious level. So that there is no role of the cerebral cortex. Here you will find a person appreciate the relationship of the two stimuli. That's why it is known as associative memory. Here it depends only a single stimulus is sufficient. So it is known as non-associative learning. The association or relationship of the two stimuli is well documented by Pavlov experiments. Pavlov experiments, here you will find two stimuli and the two types of the response. In that Pavlov experiment, to demonstrate the conditioned reflexes, you will find two types of the response and two types of the stimuli. Salivation is unconditioned or innate response. Piece of the meat is an unconditioned stimuli, while the sound of the bell is a conditioned stimuli. Flash of the light is again conditioned stimuli. So we will find there is an association between the unconditioned stimuli and the conditioned stimuli. Without unconditioned stimuli or association of this with the conditioned stimuli, there is no such type of the memory. So it is known as associative memory, association of the unconditioned stimuli and conditioned stimuli. Here in the implicit memory, you will find that it depends on different neural system and remain intact in amnesic patients. So if there is a damage, brain structure is damaged, then as in amnesia, there is no loss of such type of the memory. In this slide, the differences between the explicit memory and the implicit memory is continued. Here you will find that the explicit memory is of two types, semantic memory and episodic memory. Now this semantic memory, we require the knowledge, and the episodic memory is a memory of a specific event. While the implicit memory is again of two forms, that is priming, which occur with a single presentation of a stimulus. Procedural require step-by-step experiments. So what the example of explicit memory is habituation, is an example of associative memory, while the implicit is an example is sensitization, and it is example of non-associative memory. Second classification we must remember is that it is initially proposed by Atkinson and Shiffrin in 1968, which depends the duration, how long it lasts. So according to him, he divides short-term memory and long-term memory. So for our convenience, we divide into three, that is short-term memory, which lasts for few seconds, intermediate memory, longer than the short term and shorter than the long term. Long term memory is the long lasting memory which lasts for years and years. One other type of the memory is working memory. For example, we have some work and we have to memorize the phone number for that, and it will be remembered till the task is not done. After that, we cannot remember the phone number. Next slide. There are three kinds of the events, and according to the kinds of the events which play important role to develop the memory, that what are the events? One is the episodic memory of a specific events. And we can ask the patient what you had for the breakfast. That is called episodic. Second is flash bulb. Whenever there is an incident and that is very unusual, then the person recall the events in great detail. For example, where were you when the World Trade Center was attacked? Like that. Third is generic, means general knowledge play important role to remember. It is the capability of the human itself, person himself, that how the memory can be retained by the general knowledge. Rote memory, things learned without logical reasoning. Remember that the things learned without logical reasoning. For example, mugging up informations without logics, usually seen before examination. The question arises where the memory they are stored. They are events, then where they are stored. They are memory areas. Primary area located in temporal, hippocampus and amygdala. So memory areas are the multi-store medias. They are not in a single part of the brain. They are the vast location. It has a vast locations. Primary area, associated area, and integration. Primary area located in temporal, hippocampus, amygdala. Here the hippocampus is related with recent memories. They are related with recent memories. And this is the place where the consolidation is done. It means information from the short term converted into consolidated into long term. So the hippocampus play a very important role in memory, that is consolidation and for recent memories. Now associated areas we all know: somatosensory cortex. Associated areas: visual cortex, auditory cortex, olfactory cortex. So they are also involved. Primary areas are this, then association areas are this. Now the integration of information with the previous experiences of learned skills. So after the consolidation, what will happen? There must be a sense. So the integration process is very important. Integration of the information is very important process, and that is embedded with emotional feeling. And without the feeling, emotional feeling, there is no use of learned memory. So the emotional feeling usually consigned with the limbic system. So this also play an important role. The integration means with the emotions. Information, sense with emotion feeling, that is responsible in area of consigned with the area of limbic system. So the resultant information processed and stored as memory. Now another area which is prefrontal cortex. It is critical for active maintenance of internal representation, because the planning is done here. When I ask you any question, you have to prepare, you have to give answer for that. And answer is planned. You cannot give your answer in haphazard manner. So the planning is done in the prefrontal cortex. It is critically important in cognition and seems necessary in the course of reasoning, language comprehension, and planning. So these three important functions of the cognitive functions, reasoning, comprehension, and planning, is done in prefrontal cortex. So the spatial processing is done. Without reasoning, we cannot plan. Without plan, we cannot reason. And without reasoning, language comprehension cannot be done. Again, so there are three processes which are involved in memory process. One is encoding, second, consolidations, third, storage. And the fourth is also very important: maintenance, rehearsal, to keep away from forgetting. So encoding is the process where the information converts into format. Now it is a format, means this you know that the JPG format is for picture. In painting, we paint and brush software, we uses the format PNG, like that. The format should be correct. The encoding is the process by which information convert into a right format, and so that this format can be stored. Consolidation, long-term potentiation, is a process which involved in consolidation of memory. By what is long-term potentiation? The same group of the neurons fire simultaneously. It is not a single neuron, it is a group of the neurons which collect the information or store the information. That is long-term potentiation. So that rerouting is done, rearrangement is done of interneuronal interconnections. The consolidation is rerouting. And to develop the long-term LTP, in short we call LTP. Now storage. Storage is used to put information into short-term or long-term memory. It's very important. If we give the effort in encoding, consolidation, we forget about storage, and we have not done the maintenance rehearsal, then we could not memorize. So storage is used to put information in the memory, and to keep away from the forgetting, maintenance rehearsal is very, very important. Means repeated information over and over again. So what will happen here? That format should be good first, then rerouting is done, storage is done, and the maintenance rehearsal is good, is an important one. So usually we say that the day 1, suppose we are reading a lecture or 3 processes involved in the memory, we have to remember in the day 1, then 3rd day, then 7th day, and then 1 month, then after that 6 months, and after that this will be in the long-term memory. We will not forget this. This is just an example you have to find. Now there are 3 processes, as you know very well. Encoding is the first part of that processing. Encoding is done by 3 types of the codes. Visual codes, another name is iconic memory, means data will come from the picture. Acoustic codes, echoic memory, data comes from the sequence of the sounds. Touch codes, haptic memory, it means data comes through the touch. Semantic codes, this represent information in terms of its meaning, otherwise it will lost. Reasoning, with the reasoning, there is a code which is concerned with the reasoning. Now 3 processes continued in this slide also. Second process is storage. Over a period of time and for maintenance, rehearsal of the information over and over again to keep from forgetting. So data is stored in organized manner. Why we say that over and over period? Because some data you have to rub and other has to be more prominent. The useless data in the collected storage, useless data has to be removed. So all the new stored data, they are in organized manner. So to organized manner, it's very important. New data is added and useless data has to be washed out from your memory. Now the retrieval, find out stored useful information at conscious level. So now the retrieval usually done, most is done at conscious level. Now conscious level it done when it is concerned with intelligence or reasoning. But there are certain memories do not require conscious level. They occur at subconscious mind. Now what is the mechanism of attaining long-term memory? LTM. As a mechanism, we must understand what mechanism can happen in the circuit. The alteration in synaptic connection, this is the main. Means synapse connections, either the more neuronal connections are there, or more neurotransmitter is released, or more protein synthesis is there, or more gene activation, or destruction of the old memory traces. So these are the all mechanisms by which we can attain long-term memory. So we will find there is a changes in the synaptic connection, release of the neurotransmitter, protein synthesis at the level of genes, and destruction of the old memory traces. What in this slide, it will show that what are the changes at molecular level occurred in long-term memory. These changes may occur due to the increased secretion of serotonin at presynaptic knob of exoaxonal synapse, which causes increased calcium influx, which is voltage gated. 2. Increased phosphorylation of potassium ion, responsible for slow repolarization, or you can say action potential prolonged, which causes increased adenylyl cyclase release, increased cyclic AMP synthesis done, and increased protein synthesis occurred. This molecular level is responsible for plasticity. What is plasticity? Especially the plasticity in the nervous system regarding with the memory is synaptic plasticity. So what is that? Rerouted and rearranged interneuronal connections responsible for synaptic plasticity or neuronal plasticity. So what is plasticity? Means root is not a single now. It can be changed and rearranged among the neuronal connections. This is observed plasticity regarding with the memories observed especially in hippocampus, Wernicke's area, olfactory bulb also. Other areas are also shows plasticity like anterior lobe of superior temporal lobe, superior part of the superior temporal lobe also is responsible for that. In deaf person, you will find visual cortex area is more prominent. So these are also the example of the plasticity. But in case of the memory, we will find it plays a very important role. Hippocampus, amygdala, limbic system, Wernicke's area. But we have studied in hippocampus and Wernicke's area and olfactory bulb. What are the properties of the LTM, long-term memory? It is unlimited. It has a unlimited capacity. It's just like a computer. There is no end till the memory is suppose 1 TB or something. Unlimited capacity, lifetime memory, associatively arranged with meaning. Reasoning is always there. And by self-referencing, encoding is enhanced. Self-referencing means person has to reference himself or herself that no, this is the area where I learned and this was a picture which I have learned. So self-referencing and coding play important role in the LTM. So we will find molecular changes occurred in different regions and find in different lesions. So the molecular changes we find in different regions and molecular changes also occurred during different lesions. Now these are the prefrontal cortex. This is the region of planning, spatial short memory. Hippocampus amygdala lesion causes amnesia. Hippocampus and medial longitudinal fibers concerned with rewards, and the basal forebrain and Papez circuit lesion causes Alzheimer. Now this is the long-term memory. Now the second one is the short-term memory, or also known as working memory. Modern notion of the short-term memory is working memory. Working memory is nothing but it is a stage between sensory and long-term memory. So it is a between sensory and long-term memory. Working memory refers to that it is a temporary maintenance of information, and with experience can be retrieved from long-term memory. It is not represented, exists in the external environment. This point is important, cannot be shown immediately. These internal representations are short-lived but can be maintained for a longer period of time. So the short-term memory can be converted into the long-term memory after active rehearsal stage, and subject to various operations that manipulate the informations in such a way that makes it useful for goal-directed behavior. Now we go to the clinical little bit. Anterograde amnesia is the one who is grossly deficient in the formation of new memories. Means the patient cannot learn new things. He can memorize the old one, but is unable to recollect or memorize new memory. Retrograde memory loss. Whenever there is lesion in the frontal temporal lobe, there is extensive retrograde amnesia or diencephalon lesion associated with temporary graded retrograde amnesia. So most commonly it is associated with frontal lobe pathology. In this case, the person cannot remember the past. This is a very rare. Whenever there is infarction, retrograde memory is preserved and anterograde memory is lost. So what is the classical aspect of the semantic disorders? Whenever there is semantic memory disorders, there is a person find difficulty in attaining the full meaning of the words. And this is found whenever there is a focal or diffuse form of brain pathology. It is also known as semantic memory is a sensory aphasia, which is caused by the lesion of posterior parieto-temporal occipital association area, that is Wernicke's area. Wernicke's area, which is situated in the posterior part of the parietal lobe, inferior part of parietal lobe, superior part of the temporal, and the anterior part of the occipital area. In this paraphasias, there is a fluent speech. Person can speak out very well, fluently, without repetition. So in this disorder, whatever he is saying is useless. There is no meaning in that. Now the applied. First is Alzheimer's disease, very common. It is a degenerative disorder of synapses or connections or areas where they are responsible, just like cerebral cortex, temporal lobe, brain stem like locus coeruleus and frontal cortical area. So what we emphasize is a degenerative disorder. There is a loss of short-term memory. So there is always mood swings, no motivational drive, language disorientation and behavior disorder. This is usually progressive. So Alzheimer's degenerative disorder. Second, Korsakoff syndrome or psychosis. Korsakoff syndrome or psychosis is an organic brain disorder. Involves prefrontal cortex. Memory is affected because the planning is not there. Spatial disorder. Autism, very important, short note may be asked. It is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by triad of symptoms. What are the symptoms? Should be there genetic, cognitive and neural level. When all three are combined together, they develop the neurodevelopmental disorder. Here, impaired verbal and non-verbal communications. Communications are impaired, verbal and non-verbal, sign communications as well as verbal. Patient prefers social isolation. Here what he will find? Social isolation. Signs and symptoms usually develop early in the childhood, in the first 2 years, gradually noticed by the parents and which manifested gradually. Thanking you. Please subscribe if you like my lecture on YouTube, and you may contact at email.